Good evening. I'd like to call. I don't have it. Okay, I got it. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of October 7th, 2012 to order. And Madam Clerk, could you list that all members are present? Thank you. City Attorney, do you have anything to report from closed session?
No reportable action taken, Mayor. I should note that when the meeting convened at 5:30, the council added one thread of litigation for consideration, finding that the thread arrived after the posting of the agenda and it needed immediate attention by the council.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Councilmember Tetterman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Seeing there's no presentations, we're going to move right along to Student Liaison.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 2 weeks ago, El Toro had its annual club rush to kick off the new school year. Many clubs participated, and students got to sign up for multiple clubs that met their interests, as well as get free food from many different booths. ASB's wonderful club commissioner, Caleb Osgard, was in charge of planning and coordinating the whole event. Last Friday, ASB put on the year's first Pep Rally called Rallyfornia, going with our Taste of California homecoming theme. Homecoming court was announced, the football team was announced, our dance team performed, and lastly, Bullseye played their amazing El Toro lift-up video. We also had a very entertaining class competition, which required many students to participate. A teacher was placed onto a mattress, and students laid on their backs in a line going across the gym floor with their arms raised as the teacher was rapidly delivered on the mattress across the gym floor. Everyone was yelling with excitement, and a wide variety of students were able to participate in this fun activity. ASB's amazing PEP Commissioner, Rachel Chin, organized and executed Rallyfornia. It was a huge success, and many said that it was the best pep rally that they have ever seen. This year's homecoming theme was a Taste of California, and our dance was called Dancing Late in the Golden State. Earlier in the week, we had our annual homecoming fair, and over 100 clubs participated and brought fun activities and delicious foods for our students to enjoy. The clubs were also able to fundraise through this event. For our homecoming dance, the lower quad transformed into many different parts and landmarks of California. We had a huge turnout and received a ton of positive energy from all who attended. As students entered, it was Hollywood red carpet themed, and the quad was decorated with bright, colorful lights, the Oscar statues, and a variety of animal props representing the San Diego Zoo. Our DJ Pegleg, brought all the props and even set them all up for us. A huge hit was our 1,000 foam light sticks that we decided to purchase as a special surprise for everyone. Everyone there went crazy as ASB threw them out into the crowd. All of the homecoming profits will go towards the Bren Center for our graduation this year. The king was crowned at the homecoming dance, and the queen was crowned the previous night at the homecoming halftime show during our game against Garden Grove, which we won 49-6. This year's king is Jacob Fernari, and our queen is Kira Kwan. Our halftime show on Friday night was also a huge success. ASB set up many props and decorations at the Trabuco Hills Field, and drama performed a short skit, we had our dancers perform, and the homecoming queen was crowned. This was the first time we have had such an early homecoming in September. However, it ran smoothly and was a huge success. That's all for tonight, and as always, go Chargers.
Go Chargers. Don't leave yet. Don't leave. Come back. There is something that I didn't hear in your report that I happen to, I don't often read the paper, rarely, but it was pointed out to me that you have a young man by the last name is Manning that threw a throw that was over 600 feet. I couldn't believe it! So I'd like to have heard that in your report.
Okay.
That's phenomenal. I'm not one that gets on the line and go, but my husband, he reads everything. Mm-hmm. And when he pointed that out, I said, could you ever not expect the Chargers to do something like that? we need to keep our eye on that young man. He's going places.
He is a phenomenal quarterback.
If I'm not mistaken, he's one of our rec commissioner's son.
Is
Yes.
Excellent.
Steve Manning.
he?
Yes.
I had no idea. That's
But
awesome.
little things like that I'd like to hear in that report.
Excellent.
Okay.
I will be sure to include that next time.
Thank you. Thank
Uh-huh.
you. Public comment, Madam Mayor. Madam Clerk. You see, you were going so long. I just gave you a demotion. Do we have any slips?
Our first speaker is Colleen Costello, followed by Elizabeth Wallace.
Okay, while she's coming up, I'll make the little statement that I have to read off. At this time, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. I'll have to make a little comment on that. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, and overall time limit of 30 minutes for the public comment portion of the agenda. When you speak, please give your name and your city, not your address, and a green light will come on when you speak. And the yellow come on, you have 1 minute. The red one, we need to wind up. But there was something that hasn't been put on here. It's where we can comment back if it's 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor McCullough, the rest of the members of the Lake Forest City Council.
Good evening.
Good evening, city staff, and members of our community. My name is Colleen Costello, and I am a 20-year resident of Lake Forest. My husband and I have 3 children, 2 of whom attend El Toro High School, and 1 who attends Rancho Cañada Elementary. When my husband and I moved here 20 years ago, Lake Forest had just incorporated. At the time, parts of the city, especially areas closer to the freeway, were frankly, and I think you would agree, looked a little shabby and down on its luck. I remember when the Kmart closed and the building was left abandoned for years. That, fortunately, is not the picture of our city today. So first I want to thank you, our City Council, for your long-term stewardship of our city in creating for us residents a city that is fiscally sound and a balanced approach to development and redevelopment. So, for example, today, instead of half-rented retail spaces located in old tired shopping outlets, we have the El Toro Arbor, a redevelopment project that uplifts and engages our community, creating a fun spot to take our families and convenience for us residents. In that context, I'm asking for your support in the proposed upgrade at El Toro High School current old and tired football and track field the Saddleback Unified School District Board of Education will vote on. Besides currently having an old and tired sports field, the field share arrangement between El Toro and Trabuco Hills High School is also old, tired, and broken. Do you know that there are approximately 2,660 students today attending El Toro High School, and according to the U.S. Department of Education, is ranked within the top 3% of high schools based on the number of students enrolled. Trabuco Hills, at approximately 3,070 students, is in the top 2% nationally. So combined, right now, over 5,700 students are served by one sports field with lights. No wonder this arrangement is no longer workable. The total number of athletes at both schools that need full-time has grown to 134% in the last 20 years, to approximately 2,010 students in 2010 from 860 in 1991. I'm running out of time. So I would just like to say that obviously this is an opportunity for our Lake Forest community to fully partake in our young people's activities. We should embrace the attraction of El Toro's accessible location, where we're able to walk to games for local neighborhoods and enjoy a fun evening out with our families, a small community charm that we currently cannot share. This would also boost revenue to our local businesses and offer additional opportunities for El Toro's booster organization to increase. In closing, our city's motto is remember the past, challenge the future. Well, our future is now, And now is the time to get behind this redevelopment project that benefits our community as a whole, and especially our young people today. Please give your support. Thank you.
Elizabeth Wallace.
Good evening. My name's Elizabeth Wallace, and I'm a homeowner and resident of Lake Forest. I'm here to express my support for the lighting and bleacher project at El Toro High School. The school district has gone above and beyond to provide mitigation measures to reduce this project's impact on neighboring residents. I ask you to support the students at El Toro High. They deserve to finally have a complete facility that can support their sports and extracurricular activities. Thank you.
We've had no further requests.
Is there anyone that did not have the opportunity to put in a request would like to address this issue? Or anything that's not on our agenda? Okay, bring it back. Consent warrant list.
Agenda item number 2, certification of warrant register submitted by the Director of Finance, City Treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor. On the warrant register tonight is an item for Irvine Ranch Water District. I'd like to disclose that I'm an employee of Irvine Ranch Water District. I'm not affiliated with the rate-making or billing aspects of the agency and have no financial interest in the matter. And having made that disclosure, I will vote on that item. Thank you.
Do we have any other requests? I don't see the papers. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move the warrant registry.
It's been moved and second. Any opposition? Motion carries. Consent calendar miscellaneous 1 through 13. This is another time that the public can get a chance to address the council on if you do not pull any of the items 1 through 13, they will all be approved at one time. Is there anyone put in a slip to pull?
We've received no requests.
Okay. Any of my colleagues? 7. I knew I wanted to do it. Agenda item 7. Any other? I'll take it. It's been moved. Second.
And I'd like to abstain from item number 10.
Okay. You need to.
It wasn't pulled.
You could have pulled it.
I'm not pulling it. I'm just
You're
abstaining.
just abstaining. Okay. Abstaining from 10. And 7 is being pulled.
Mayor, just for number 10, we want the record to disclose that it's due to the proximity of Mr. Voigt's home to the improvements in that item, I think. So that's on the record.
Do I need to state that, or?
I think
You
the
should
clerk
have
can note
it
it with
in
his
now,
consent.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we still can approve it, you just abstain from 10. Okay. I have a motion. I didn't hear a second. Peter, motion. Second. Any opposition? Motion carries. And for the record, reflects to agenda item 10 that Mayor Pro Tem Voigt have abstained. And now we're moving to agenda item 7.
Agenda item 7, reject all bids and authorize rebidding for the Rimgate Park and Tamaris Park Improvement Project. Public Works number 2009.14, submitted by the Director of Public Works, City Engineer, and removed from the consent calendar by Councilmember Rudolph.
Okay, just a couple quick questions. Read the staff report, understand what's going on. Obviously, we need to go back out. My question is, when we readjust the timeline, are we going to be able to get things accomplished without obstructing the sports season, particularly baseball?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm going to look to Lewis. over to Gary for his help. I don't think they practice there, but they don't currently play games there.
Actually, the Pony League plays there. So I think based on the schedule, it'll probably impact the spring season. And it also depends on the weather.
Correct.
Okay, well, it's my acknowledgement of the fact that, they've had to put off getting this done because we were working around the schedules for a year, and I would just want to make sure that we're not going to be having to put the whole thing off another year not because of any fault of our own, but because we want to make sure that the facilities are there for the season. So that was my question. Move approval.
Second.
A second. Any opposition? Motion carries. Discussion item number 14.
Agenda item 14, pedestrian countdown signal heads, submitted by City Manager.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this was actually placed on the agenda, I believe, at the request of the mayor, but by the city council, and the staff has nothing further to add at this juncture and would look for council direction.
Did we have anyone put in any slips?
We've had no requests.
Is there anyone would like to make a request to address agenda item 14 that's on the agenda? Seeing none, bringing it back to council. Councilmember Rudolph?
Yes, I'd like to express my support for this. Over the last couple of years, they're kind of creeping in, and you'll find a countdown signal here or there. As someone who either walks or is in my scooter, I think that they're really a great gift to mankind, so to speak. I think that perhaps what we may need to do because of cost factors is to decide what the priority should be. Certainly, I think priority should be where we have the highest pedestrian traffic, to make sure that that we have these lights there. Also, near the senior mobile home parks, and then the schools where there aren't crossing guards. And then from there on, hopefully, within a couple of years, we can get to the point where all of our signals have the countdown feature. And I think the big thing is to educate the kids, particularly the walkers and the riders and the skateboarders, as to what that is telling them, so that they don't sort of just go dashing across an intersection that wouldn't be safe, when all they have to do is, wait a few seconds to the countdown and go. So I'd like to move that we have staff proceed with getting as many of these countdown signals as we can afford. If there's any money left in this quarter and this half of the fiscal year, and then for future, make sure that we're folding these into our future budget so that we can get as much of the city covered as possible. That's a motion.
I would need to tweak that motion before I could second it.
I need to.
Okay. Could I put that at bay for a few minutes? I'm going to go to Mayor Pro Tem Boyd.
My concern, I think the counters are great, and I think there are places in the city where they would be advantageous to the pedestrians and for the children and for the seniors. But I think that we need to consider the costs of each of these, and then also bring back the estimated of where that we could really be identified as being the most potentially useful. I think that the lifespan on the actual singles that we have out there now got to be taken into consideration. What are we going to do with them after the fact? But the fact is that there are places that we could identify and come up with a reason that we need them there, because the fact is that the children on school routes, seniors getting to the shopping center, but I think it's clearly got to be identified where we need them and why we need them there before we go forward and try to establish these here, there, and everywhere. So I think we got to lay out in ground rules of where we need them and why.
Due to the fact that I brought this to the council, I would like to address it before we go any further, unless you have something you want to go now, because I'll give you more of the idea. I've spoken with staff, and I did a lot of research on this. Number one, we have about 93 lights throughout our city, and we already have 5 countdown lights. By no means do I mean that I am looking forward to all those lights having the countdown in it. Our new lights that we're putting in will have countdowns. In doing my research, I found out that where there is a crossing guard, you don't need the countdown light, because that crossing guard has the power and authority to hold that light longer or go back, and people can still make their right turns or whatever. Some areas do not need they're not 4-ways, and they don't need all that. But what I was looking at when I first came up with this, furthermore, I'd seen it at one of our conference. The vendors are there at the annual conference. I think it's about 2 years ago or a year ago when I first brought it to our city, and we did put in 5. There are areas that are heavily used walking areas that the pedestrians are back to force and they're busy. Our arbor area has a lot of trying to get back to force across. That's one of the areas that we look at. And the reason I wanted it on the agenda is so that we could give staff directions to look and see what other areas. I found another area up on the north end that there's a lot of walking back to forth. When the hand is flashing, whether it's pedestrians or whether it's motorists will still go into the limit line, even though the code book says not to. The vehicle code book tells you not to enter that limit line when there's a pedestrian within that limit line trying to cross. I have sit and parked in different areas that are busy and heavily used areas and watched motorists enter the limit line, toot their horns at the person that's walking across, even when some, I grant you, they may go pokety-lokey, but they got until that hand stops. And they'll toot their horns, they'll ease up on them where they can feel the heat from the car, where the car gets so close to intimidate them. They will scream, holler, curse, flip fingers, and make all kinds of gestures and signals that 90% of them I don't even know what they're doing, what it means, but they seem to think that the person is trying to walk across the street know what it means. And so what I had seen, and when I first seen these demonstrated at one of the conference vendors, is that they showed how the average pedestrian, the average motorist, and even a higher percentage, they will not enter that limit line when the numbers are counting. They know that that pedestrian has until it stopped. So what I did is I went on a research myself. Before we put ours in, I went to a city that had the countdown, and I parked and observed. And I went to other places that had, and I started parking and observing when pedestrians go across. Once we got ours in our city, I went to those same areas, and I parked and I observed. And you only will get about 1 out of maybe 25, 30 motorists that will still enter in, but that person got road rage, and you're not going to be able to help them except for with a ticket or incarceration. That's why we have officers. But most motorists will not enter that limit, within that limit line, scream, holler, curse, do finger gestures and stuff, or pull their car up and try to intimidate the person to go. We do not have, all of our lights do not need to have that. The new ones, go ahead and put it in, it costs the same amount, it's no extra. But we do need to look at those places that are heavily used, like the lady that came up a few minutes ago, how nice the arbor looked, but the people are trying to get back to force. And there is a senior mobile home there on Maryland's, and trying to get from that side of Maryland's to get over to the stores on the other side. I have seen, that's one of the places that I observed, I've seen a lot of tooting the horn, screaming, hollering, and zooming in front or behind them at a very close range. So I would like to give directions to staff to look into this. We know our areas that's the most busiest with the pedestrian walking and motorists at the same time, which look into this and get a ballpark figure of how many we probably would need to put in, and then how many we would try and put in. I believe we'd need to phase it, and then bring it back in the spring for as a capital improvement, because it's going to hit the total amount will probably hit capital improvement unless we have some spare change. I can't really say change because I know it will cost a few dollars, but this is something I feel that would assist the pedestrians and maybe help the motorists from accidentally pulling up too far and harming a pedestrian or getting a ticket when hopefully some of the officers catch them, and hopefully has a lot of fees on it, so they'll learn tickets are meant to deter you from the behavior you're doing that's not acceptable in our society. And that's why if the cost is high, it does behavior changes real quick. So that's what I'm looking for. I would prefer to make a motion, or even if I need a motion, or even just give directions. Probably need a motion. I would like to entertain a motion to give direction to staff to look into this and get a cost factor and everything and bring it back so it can be folded in the spring. Can I get a second on that?
If I understand the motion, you were talking about bringing it back in the spring in connection.
Well, bring it back for us to check it out so that in a timely enough fashion, they ain't got to do it right now, where in the spring when we go through our capital improvement budget, that can be folded in, and we'll know approximately how many we need, the places we probably need them at, and approximately how much it costs. Unless they got some money, they can do it sooner. But if not, I'm comfortable with that. Okay, it's been second. Is there any further comments? Did that fold in what you wanted? Okay. I'll call for a vote.
A discussion.
Hold on. More discussion? Yes,
Well, I have another question. Do we have a cost on what these countdown lights?
$800.
$800
Each. $800.
Now, in the ones that we replace, are we able to store the what would they be, the other mechanism? Where
Right ahead.
Help me out with that.
Madam members of the council, I'll ask Tom Wheeler to factor in on this. Of course, there may be some salvage value in that, but I'm not sure what the market bears out there. So, as the mayor indicated, the cost per device is $800, and of course there are several of them that would be necessary at some intersections, maybe less at others. But Tom, you want to speak to the question of the Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. About $800. Assume 8 at each intersection.
Is that
or way
$800 for the whole intersection, or for
$800 each
for each corner?
You're going to have 2 at each corner, a 4-legged intersection. So you're looking at about $6,400 per intersection. So we can bring that back to you for CIP discussion. The salvage value, these last a long time. So the signals, the current hand, red hand that we have out there are probably original or close to it. So trying to salvage something that's not standard anymore, that's 20 years old, it's probably just going to be scrap value. So I wouldn't assume that in any calculations. The new ones are now the new standard. So as we replace these, we replace them with the new standards.
Okay.
Also, in speaking with you concerning it, some intersections will not need 4. You don't have 4, and so that would be less. So it would be 2 instead. So that would be half of that, $3,200. So that's why I'm asking staff to do an evaluation and see the areas that is the areas that's used most, and then for them to come up with a plan on how to implement this over the period of time. Say they go through the city and they observe and they watch and they find out that there is 12 that need to be done. Unless somebody want to donate a whole bunch of money, we would not do 12 at one time, but they would do the ones that they feel would be, they should do first and second and like that, and until they're all done. So that's why I'm asking for it to be a capital improvement, because if you go 10 times $6,400, that's what, 64,000. So that's why I'm asking for a capital improvement, and that our capital improvements come up in the spring.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's basically one facing each corner, so that's why there's two on each corner, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Just, as part of the information that comes back, obviously we've gone through and we've been replacing a couple, so you probably have some idea of various intersections where we're going to need to be replacing these kind of things. If you can kind of include that information when you come back, that's fine too. Just that might be one way to phase it or whatever. So we're getting the most out of what we have, but moving forward. So
The older ones, if they're in a spot, you can phase those out first and stuff like that. That's what he's asking. Any further discussion? I have a motion on the floor, and I'll ask, is there any opposition to the motion? Motion carries. Agenda item 15.
Agenda item 15, legislative and regulatory matters, submitted by city manager.
Madam members of the council, at your previous meeting, we were requested to take a look at a couple of initiatives on the ballot and provide the council some information relative to that. We have given you the best that we've been able to glean out of it thus far. Interestingly, I think Prop 31 clearly has implications. We have not found a lot of analysis out there yet that's been done by others, other than so we did give you a copy of what the legislative analyst did, and we're going through it ourselves. We certainly have some questions that we'd want to do some additional research with, but we provided you what we have to date, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have on either of those two measures as we've provided.
Is there any? Peter? No one? Oh.
thanks for the information.
That's unusual. Thank you. Item number 16.
Agenda item 16, request for appointment, League of California Cities, Association of California Cities, Orange County, and/or the Orange County City Selection Committee, submitted by city clerk.
Anyone running for anything? Okay. Moving right along. City Manager's report.
I have nothing further this evening, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Herzog.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to comment, it was indicated that prior supervisor Chuck Smith passed away on Sunday at the age of 80, and I had the pleasure of working with Supervisor Smith on a variety of committees and commissions over the years when he was supervisor, and although he chose the wrong side of one argument that was rather major in the county of the airport, and actually it was interesting during that debate, I actually had the chance to debate him several times, both in forums and on the TV about the airport, and it was always very spirited. And we had a little game that we created about who could get in the last word, and he got very mad because I always won. So,
We know.
but setting aside that, we then moved on and continued to work on other things. And like I said, although he was very wrong on the airport, he certainly had, I think, the county's interest at heart, and I think he very seriously took into clear consideration the seriousness of his role as a supervisor. And so I just wish to pass my thoughts along to his family, and I'm glad that I got to know him. Thank you.
Would you like us to post a meeting in honor of him?
Sure. That'd be nice.
Okay. Will do.
That's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Marcia Rudolph.
Okay. At the league conference, I decided this was my year to walk around the presentations by the vendors. I've always found it very interesting to see what some of the newest things are, and also to recommend maybe somebody get in touch with our city because we're doing, we're going to be doing a city hall, and it may be a builder or an organization that's good at that. My feeling is the more the merrier. That gives us a better chance of getting the possibility of getting a very strong competition for a bid and possibly getting the best that we can do, because that's what we want to do when we're doing stuff like this. So anyway, I found it interesting, but what one of the presenters that was there this time I'd not seen before, and this was National Library Association, and they gave out books and children's books. And this is one of them. It's Thomas and the Library Lady, and it's a really sweet little book about a little boy who was from an immigrant farming family that traversed around the United States picking whatever they could get a job to pick, and how he would basically, when they got to a town, he'd find the library, he'd go into the library and do his best to try and pick up as much information as he could. And it talks about a couple of the library ladies who sort of took him under their wing and started him reading and getting a love for books. And he would go home and whatever book he was able to get, he would take it home and he'd read it to his parents and his brothers and sisters. So it's a cute little story. It's probably reading level 3rd, 4th grade, but it's enjoyable. So this was one of the books I got. The other book I got, which my granddaughter took home with them so she could take it to school and share it at school, is the Library Lion. And it's about a lion who goes into the library and learns that there are rules and that you don't roar in the library, etc. It's a really cute little book, and the illustrations are lovely. So that was part of what happened. What I will probably be doing after I've read this to my granddaughters is I will be donating it to the El Toro Library for their children's section. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is wonderful vector control. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and at that meeting we were given, actually saw what turned out to be a television story on the problems that they're having particularly in Texas, with critters and with the illnesses that they can bring. And one of the things I've walked away feeling very pleased about is that Texas didn't jump on the issue right away. They had the issue of the insects and the infestations happening starting in April. They did not get involved from a governmental level until almost August. And by that time, there had been several people who had died. Whereas here in Orange County, vector control was on it before the problem started and has been on it ever since. So we're very fortunate to have vector control in Orange County to make sure that we don't end up with problems and that they can get a handle on it quickly before there's a problem. What I have here, this has been put out by Vector Control. This is one on rodent control, and this one is on the actions and the activities, Vector Control. And I'd like to suggest that staff take a look at these and what many cities in Orange County are doing with these CDs, and that's putting them on whatever access channel that they have, so that their people can see, so that our citizens can see what we need to do and what vector control does for them. So I'm going to leave these here for staff to take a look at and possibly figure out a way of putting it maybe on at some time where people would be interested in seeing it. Okay,
Thank you. Councilmember Ted Herman. Mayor Pro Tem Voight.
Nothing further tonight, thank you.
Seems like you want to go home. I'll be as quick as I can. I did warn you, huh? Okay. I'm going to be I'll be as quick as I can. You're still going to get out pretty early tonight. First of all, I attended Newport Bay Watershed. That was painful. And the Leadership Academy, we kicked it off, what was it, last week, Deb? 2 weeks ago. So they have 6 more weeks, and they'll be graduating, and they'll be coming before us for their certificate and photos. And South County mayors and managers, we had something interesting there. Birds. I'm not going to share that. Also, I attended the SCAG, and Peter, you were there for the reception. You forgot to report that. They had Mobility 21. They do it every year, and this year they had it at Disneyland Hotel. I guess since they've made that new section there, everybody's having functions there. And they had some really good speakers there. One of the things they were doing, they were talking a lot about high-speed rail, and that was kind of a split crowd. Some people was for it and some people weren't, and I'm not going to state where I was on it at this time. We also had 2 more openings. We had one was the Power Flow, and the other one was Jersey Mike's. I didn't get a chance to attend Jersey Mike, but my Mayor Pro Tem set in for me, and I had to leave town. I had to go back down to San Diego to another conference for California Women Lead. We had women as far away as Florida, and also from Arizona, and also up north. And it was at the same hotel, so that made it easy. And we're having more women appointed to positions. We had 2 ladies there that had just gotten appointed to a statewide position on helping with, one was for housing issues or something like that. I didn't find out what the other ladies were. But what we do is we had one of our citizens, she was here when I announced that I was going down, and she came down and joined. And we helped train women to get elected and appointed, and also in the women to kind of break through that ceiling in the corporate world, also give them skills to do that. I also attended HCD, the Orange County Housing. I'm also a housing commissioner, and one of the things that we found is that the feds downgraded our the rent for our county. And you know, we have a high rent area. Well, when they downgrade it, that means that we have to pay more, or either the people that are in the affordable housing with their Section 8 vouchers or affordable housing, they have to pay more. So we voted that the county pick up that little bit. It wasn't a lot for the county because it's a very small amount, but we didn't feel it would be, at this economic time, the right to put it on the burdens of the people that are already having financial problems, and some just got in their place. The new ones that come after us, that will be considered, because they can be factored in, but the ones that are already in there, to put that extra 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, depending on what their, it would be short. We voted to not do that. Also, I attended the Orange County the 2020 Commission for Stopping Homelessness by the year 2020. They had a retreat. I had to leave there and go back to the mobility thing, but our city manager is on that commission also, so he fills in. I think I was only gone, the last hour and a half, so I cut all the other portion, and we're making some leadways there. Still a lot of work to do, but we're reorganizing and redoing some things because the CEO had left. I attended the mental health I'm on the mental health board, and they always have a lot of stuff going. They have so much stuff going that even when you're sitting there, it's hard to keep up with it. One of the things is statewide, Lieutenant, statewide, we're going to be asking for any of the counties that do not do at least, we're going to try and get a bill or get it across the board from, because it's got to come from the legislature, that we are one of the few counties that do not, that only do 8 hours training in the initial training of an officer. And most of the counties, especially up north and middle ways, they do at least 40 hours. Mental health, we've been picking up tabs and training 16 hours out of our budget. If they make it a standard where they all have to get 40 hours of sensitivity training is like to put you right on board is the situation that happened in Fullerton, or when someone is deaf and can't hear, or if they're on medications, legally on medications, like a senior have Alzheimer's and stuff, you're sensitive to how to operate that. And it's a lot of other more technical things that it's too long to do. But we're going to be trying to ask that. And for the cities that do have their own policemen, some of them here in Orange County has stepped up and adding more training. The ones that have the sheriff department, depending on their contract, they can fold it in on their next contract. And I know that I have the red light, but just to let you know, because I didn't get a chance to call anyone, is that they were out spraying the citrus trees today. We had gotten a notice on our door yesterday, and they were yesterday or the day before, and they were out today, this morning or early afternoon. They were spraying. I only had the one tree, but they came in and sprayed it. And so I'm assuming, they said they were all over our neighborhood and they're going through the whole city. So I'm assuming that the city was notified that they were out there. I'm quite sure it was vector control. So just want to let you know, if you haven't been sprayed, you will be, because it said it's doing our whole city. Okay? Seeing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor can leave or stay here until the next meeting. Thank you.